Right, so what happened then was they, being the IRA, had blown up the checkpoints, Buncrana, Letterkenny, I can't remember the other one now, but there's 3 outside London area, and they'd blown them up and killed a lot of people. And the way they'd done this now was they'd found out who from the local community was working with the military, and they would then get in and take their family hostage. The individual would come home. He would then be put in a car with a booby trap, with a bomb in it. He would then be told, you are to drive to this point here, get out of the vehicle, come back to our vehicle, and we'll drive you away. What they did, they had remote control. He would drive the car right into the VCP, the vehicle checkpoint. They would be in a vehicle behind, and they would detonate a bomb, kill all the soldiers and that individual, and then they'd be away. And they did that 3 or 4 times. And there was a lot of activity on the border which we couldn't do much about, and we decided to change the way we were going to do things. So we put certain people on the border to observe, but also to work out a better way of controlling. And rather than having static checkpoints, what we did was we had static checkpoints which were better protected, but we had much more flexibility in moving troops around and keeping the terrorists guessing. Mm-hmm. And so we'd close off some of the, if you like, tracks which didn't have checkpoints on it. We'd close them off, blow them up, dig them up, whatever, to funnel these people through areas which we could observe and watch. And we put in place some amazing things. My job as the LO there to coordinate the closure and opening of the border crossing points, and I remember there was a chap called Lynch who is a well-known terrorist, and we had a few run-ins with him, including exchanges of fire and various things like that down on the border. We made some great friends, but the trouble is, in those days you didn't know whether they were a friend or a foe, because you did find that some of the terrorists were really friendly, and the reason they're friendly, they tried to get on your side, whereas those that were anti you and against you were scared that if they were seen to be your friends, they could get taken out. To stop vehicles getting close to the fixed vehicle checkpoints, we'd have these things called rising bollards, which had an amazing PSI and would fire out of the ground and stop a vehicle or turn it over before it actually got close to the, if you like, the control tower. And they were great, and we put them in, and a lot of work and a lot of money was spent on it, but training a squaddy from the guards or an infantry unit to operate these bollards and not flapping and pressing the wrong buttons proved to be one of the biggest challenges in the world. And I do remember there were 2 incidents. The first people in a vehicle to be turned over by a rising bollard in Londonderry were a couple of nuns on their way across the border, and the chap inside was from the Coldstream Guards. He later in a statement said he didn't believe that they were nuns. He thought they were terrorists, and they were driving so fast that he decided to press the button. And he pressed the button, but he must have been quite slow because they weren't driving that fast, and he pressed it, the vehicle was over, and it flipped the vehicle up onto its roof. And to say that we didn't all laugh our heads off at the end when we're pulling these nuns out, poor nuns shocked, out of the car, was an understatement. But to follow on from that, I think the next person, or the next but one, that fell foul of the rising bollards was the local MP, who all along had said there's going to be a terrible accident, I don't agree with these are not good, etc. And sure as eggs, out of all of the cars to go through, he got turned over as well. And it was a very interesting experience. I didn't have to worry about it, but the brigadier, I know, had a lot of politicians to deal with on that. So, and I think also that there were some other funny incidents. I do remember one incident where a chap, we were doing some undercover work, and a chap was released from prison, and we decided to put something in his house, and we weren't sure what house he was coming back to. It was one of three, and we were operating obviously in small teams. Two of us went in, two were outside. He'd gone to the pub with this girl, which wasn't his wife, it was a girlfriend. So we decided to put something in the lampshade. Unfortunately, while one guy was on the chair changing something around, the other guy was out the back. He'd obviously forgotten something, and this guy turned around, jogged back straight into the house, came into the hallway. The guy was on the chair, was quite could look after himself, and he just turned around and decked this guy completely, knocked him out completely, and we were gone and away. But it blew our cover completely, and three guys from the team had to go.